of us on these things. You know, morning to evening, all she does was spend time at the gym, you know. So when she started talking about this new way of working out, you know, put in place by the astronaut, by NASA, you know, she discovered the effects of it and how it affects the body on a cellular level. And she was saying these things, and I could taste passion, you know. I was like, yeah, it makes total sense, you know. She needed to bring, she brought a new way of exercising, and it made total sense. I could taste success as she was sharing. I could taste her passion and the success in it. So I decided to invest my 19,000 into her business. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna help you because I'm an accountant. I know I set up companies. This is my work. We're gonna do it the right way. We're gonna approach it the right way. You know, so I help her. I put the money in her business. We incorporated her business. Then we needed to find a name for her company, right? And it's then that things started surfacing, right? Because as I proposed, in 2 minutes, I came up with the most, a name for her business based on what she has shared with me and what she wanted to do with the company. And as I came up with the name, she lynched me, she shamed me, she belittled me. She was like, oh, Jen, you're so stupid, you know? It's so simple. How are you gonna just give a name like that? This is not the name I want. And I was like, oh, okay, well, figure out the name, and tomorrow go incorporate it. Fine, no problem, you know. So I let her, you know, and the next day she incorporated the business name I gave her. The only way I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's growth, you know. It takes a lot of humility to pull that off that way, you know. And that's then she started saying, you know, Jen, I, I don't want you, I don't want a repeat of what has happened in New York. Like I came to your apartment and you threw me out. I was like, wow, that's not what happened. And I shared again what happened with her, you know. And then I you know, once she kept insulting me and belittling me, you know, with the name and things like that. I was like, you know what? This is your baby. This is your company. I don't have to be part of it. I don't even want part of it. I actually want to focus on my own business, right? You take care of your baby, you know. All I'm doing is just helping you set it up, and then I will remove myself because I want nothing to do with it. I am wishing you, I am just setting you up for success. I'm doing the budget, and I invested this money, and I'm doing the website with you. I'm showing you the step to incorporate it, okay? But eventually you're gonna get an accountant because I don't know the rules in Canada, right? She lived in Quebec, Montreal. So I was like, I do not know the rules. You're gonna have to deal with that on your own. All I'm doing is gifting you with this, with the skills I have, so you can set yourself up properly, you know. So because even in working out the budget and everything, I found the location. I looked up a location. I set her up with the company that provided the equipment, and we got a huge discount because we approached it as a business. She got a huge discount, and she was also I set everything up for her, and still I got lynched. And even giving her that $19,000, John, the type of arguments we went through, you know, it was like, why did you give it to her? This was supposed to be for your business. I'm like, yeah, this is the business I want to invest in. I don't have to give you any, you know, it's my decision. How do I know that in investing in that business is not going to lead me somewhere better? I don't know. I'm following my heart. You know, what she's presenting to me is the most ingenious business idea I have ever heard. You know, there's something there, and she has to be supported. She has to be validated, you know. But he didn't know what I was facing with Jessica on the other end, right? So in doing this with Jessica and referring to her business as her baby, you know, the walls I had towards being a mom, because it was the most scary things for me. I did not want to be a mom, because I didn't want my kid to go through the same thing I went through with my own mother. You know, I was like, what if I end up being just like my mom and inflict the most hurtful things on my kid? So that was very frightening to me. But in assisting Cheska with her business and keep referring it as, you know, her baby, she has to do the best thing she can, she has to give it love, and she has to push herself to protect it and to nurture it and take time into learning the steps into getting it to the best version of what she has in mind. In saying these things, it melted the walls around my resistance towards becoming a mom, because I am the ultimate nurturer. That's all I like. That's who I am, you know. I wanted to nurture something to life. You know, that's when I told John, you know, I think maybe I want a kid, you know, and that's when he was like, yeah, I want a kid too, you know. But I didn't make the correlation that he only wanted a kid because his mom has been nagging him, and the competition between him and his sister started again. You know, it's a very silent, and I brought it up to his attention. I'll be like, you when we go to family meetings, you act with your sister like you guys are close, but you never want to do anything. Every time I want to invite his sister, he's like, fuck no, I don't want her around. You know, he wants nothing to do with his sister, you know. And yet when we go to family meetings, dinners, they act like they love each other, you know. Same with his uncle. You know, this guy was berated and humiliated at work, you know, in ways I cannot even describe. But in family dinners, you know, they will hug each other and they will talk like nothing happened, you know. And there was a point where you know, it's so beautiful, you know, where I was calling my dad at one of the family dinners, so his mom can speak to him. He wanted to thank her for something, I don't recall. And his sister approached me and she was like, Jen, I just wanted to talk to you, and out of respect, how would you like me to refer to your dad, you know? And I was like, in my culture, as a tradition, you have to call my father Papa. Papa is father in French, right? Because that's how John refers to my dad. And that's how I call his mom and dad. I refer to them as mom and dad, because that's a testament to the respect I have for them, you know. So she asked me this question and I was honored. I was like, yes, you will call, or you can call him Papa Jen, you know. It's a very frequent way of referring to people out of respect in Benin. You call them by the first name as a father of the oldest kid, you know. So I was like, you can say that. So as I called my dad, she asked me that and I said, and she was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. As I called my dad and he spoke to her mom, I passed her the phone. He wanted to say hi. She said she wants to say hi to him, and she called him by his first name. And as she finished talking to him, I was like, you will not talk to my dad this way, because it was a statement she was making. You know, she wanted to dishonor me. This passive aggressive behavior, it's renowned in John's family. This is how they navigate things, you know. So I exposed her and she started crying and she went hiding. Yeah, Jen is mean. This is what I didn't care, you know. And as I was dating, early on in our relationship, as I was dating John, right, his mom will call at times asking for help with the TV. Yeah, throughout our marriage, she will call and ask for help with the TV. And he will start screaming at her like she's stupid, she's doing on purpose, she's not. And I was like, motherfucker, you will never speak to your mom that way in my presence. He was like, Jen, you don't understand. She's doing it on purpose. she's acting like she doesn't understand to trigger me. I'm like, this person called you for help. She's your mom. You cannot talk to your mom that way. Never. You will never again talk to your mom and scream at your mom in my presence ever again. The way you talk to any woman, the way you act with any woman is a testament to who I am. So no matter who it is, you will honor any woman in my presence. You know, these are things I used to say to John, and none of them knew that, you know, but his grandmothers know this, right? Because his grandmothers will tell me, you know, Jen, since you got married, John got married to you, his behavior changed because he never responds to any emails or my texts. But now, every time I text, he responds to me. Both his grandmas said this. They were the only one who noticed. But as his mom could no longer control him, you know, because we were partners, we were a union, you know. So whatever she says, you know, it goes through me. We decided as a couple, you know. So when I set boundaries were in place. No matter what she did, she could not cross them over, you know. So early on in our relationship, those things got noticed, and I'm going back and forth because I have to go with the flow. This is how I tell stories, right? So in our relationship, early on in our marriage as well, I went shopping with John. We went to buy clothes. And it is then, you know, John was like, Jen, can you buy the clothes? Can you choose the shirts? I need shirts. Can you choose the shirts for me? And I was like, what? Why would I choose shirts for you? You can choose yourself. You know, you have to buy what is your style. And that's when he revealed that he has never purchased any shirt or pants for himself. This was done by his grandma and his mom. And I was like, you are almost in your 30s, because we got married at 27. I was like, you are almost in your 30s. You have never purchased shirts or underwears or pants for yourself? And he was like, yeah, my mom and grandma did it for me. And I was like, buddy, if I have to buy your shirts and pants, I will never fuck you again. I don't need I cannot I cannot get wet. There's no fucking way. What the fuck? And he was like, no, but you can at least tell me which. I'm like, I will not tell you anything. You will buy the shirt that you choose, that is your size, and as you wear them, you know, as you see me getting wet, that will be a testament that you chose well. That's it, you know. Any other input from me, I cannot fuck you. No, that's not how it works. You know, to have 15 years together, not once have I asked him if I look good in something. No, that's my decision. No matter what I wear, I look good in it. I don't need anybody's approval to tell me how I need to look or what I need to buy. You know, so those are the things that were coming up, and I was like, yeah, that I cannot. This. So, as with my sister, you know, those things happen, and I tried to help her, and she started acting this way, and she started telling me that, you know, she doesn't want to repeat. She doesn't want to get into me setting up her business, because when she came to visit me in New York back in the days, I kicked her out of my apartment. I was like, that is not what happened. That's your perspective. And I shared my perspective once again with her. And that's when I said, I am setting you up, and then I am removing myself. And then as I removed myself, I realized I want to have a baby. I want to mother something of my own. I wanted to give it a chance. And that's when John also expressed that he wanted a kid. And so we decided to just have one kid, give it one shot and see where it takes us. And to celebrate this decision, because it was a big decision. We were married for 6 years before I came to that, decision. And I wanted to celebrate it. So I booked a trip to Fiji to celebrate this decision. I was like, yeah, before I get pregnant, okay, I want to have one vacation with our family, spend time to celebrate this big decision for ourselves, right? So I initially booked the vacation in a resort for just the two of us, and then I changed my mind and I rebooked the vacation. And instead of going to a resort, I booked a home with rooms and invited my sisters. You know, Cheska didn't want to come. She was like, she's focusing on her business. I was like, fine. Mrs. Kali came with her boyfriend, and my adopted brother, I'll get into this later, let's call him Florian, also came. And that's when John was like, oh, but we are paying for all of this. I'm like, I'm not paying for the tickets. I'm using the same amount of money we were going to put for ourselves in the resort. I just want to have this celebration with my family. You as well, we have vacant, another room vacant. Why don't we invite your sister? That's when he was like, fuck no, she's not coming. And I said, okay, maybe your mom or your dad. That's when he said, okay, I'm going to invite my mom. And it's only later that I realized why he invited his mom, because she decided to pay for half the trip. You know, she's enabling this. This is it, you know. Yeah, so we went on vacation in Fiji. We celebrated this big news between, it was private. I didn't share it with my siblings, right? Because it was between John and I, but that was the intention behind that Fiji trip. And as we got back from Fiji, I got pregnant. I think a couple of weeks after that, I was pregnant. No, I don't have to try. When I'm ready, I'm ready. We manifested that. Yeah, so the news came up, and you know, I was excited, and as I was navigating this pregnancy, we announced it to his mom and his family, and that's when his mom started calling me every day to track the pregnancy, and I was like, no, I, I I I already spoke to you about how I felt yesterday and the day before and the day before that. You cannot call me every day. You need to call your son. You don't have that relationship with me. I don't need this level of control. And that's when she would say, well, but this is what a mom is supposed to do. I'm like, no, not in my world. I don't need this level of superficiality. No. If you can call your son and ask him how the pregnancy is going, he will inform you. You have that relationship with him. She never called him, you know. So as the pregnancy progressed and I reached the 8 months, I was 8 months pregnant. I had a severe panic attack. Right, I was like, it's like I was confronted with that reality of really becoming a mother, and it was scary because I was like, I had a nightmare, and I dreamt about my mom, and I was like, I might do the same thing to my daughter. I might die on my daughter and she'll feel abandoned. And I was crying. So I woke up that morning and I begged John. He was supposed to go racing. And I begged him and I was like, please do not leave me alone. I am feeling very distressed and I'm feeling very emotional. I just need you to stay home with me and be around me. I just need someone around me. And I was really crying. I have never seen myself in this position before. It was very scary. And he told me, no, I cannot stay. I have to go racing with my friend. I already told him I was going. And I kneeled down. I have never kneeled or begged anybody in my life, right? So that experience really got embedded into me, you know. And he just walked out on me, with me on the floor crying. He walked out and went racing and bought dinner and came. He knew what he did. He came back home, bought dinner, and then later said, you know, we argued about it several times, and he would just say, I didn't know how you felt. You know, I didn't know it was a misunderstanding. Yeah, that's his copying out. He would just be, I misunderstood you, or you misunderstood me. That's the way he did it. I was like, fine. So the day I gave birth came, and I gave birth to Anne, and at the hospital, I had a C-section. So he, on that day, he was like, I cannot stay in the hospital with you because I have to go racing the next day. So I'm gonna go home. That was the day of the birth of our daughter. He was like, I need to go home and sleep so I can go racing, and then I'll come back the next day. I was like, fine. The way I saw it was that he was celebrating the birth of his daughter by having a day of fun. That's how I transmute energy. It's about the thoughts you hold, the perspective you hold. Instead of, if not, I would just get lost in resentment, and at that point I was hanging on by a thread, right? So he went racing, spent the whole day out, came back in the evening, and as he saw me struggle to breastfeed our daughter, I put her down, changed the diaper. I wanted the nurses to teach us how to care for her, because neither one of us had any clue, So at that point, he got up and said, okay, I'm not gonna sleep here because it's not comfortable. I'm gonna go back home and come back the next day. I'm too tired. I raced all day. And he was leaving me again. And I was like, motherfucker. That's when I sat him down and screamed at him. I was like, you are gonna sit there, and no matter how uncomfortable it is, you're gonna sleep here, and you're gonna assist me with our daughter, and you're gonna be the father you're supposed to be. Yeah. I shouted at him. So he stayed. This is why it's like every level of it. I had to shout it out because at a point it wasn't acceptable, So it's like he would push me to the limit and I would just explode, and it was draining me beyond imagination. Yeah. So that's what happened the day of the birth of our daughter, and he took 2 weeks off from work, and we went home with our daughter, and I didn't want anybody to visit us. His mom was hovering, and yeah, that's when things really get to surface, she started making noise, this woman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I will get into the spiritual meaning of mother-in-laws. Yeah, I figured it out. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Not just mother-in-laws, also father-in-laws. Yeah, for you out there, because everybody approached me. I'll get into it. Will tell me, Jen, how do you do it? You don't seem to have any problem with your mother-in-law. Yeah, I'll give you the trick. Yeah, figured it out. Anyway, let's not diverge. Yeah, so as we went back home for those 2 weeks, we trained ourselves, him and I, on how to work as a team, to be parents for Anne. And throughout this whole time, he was just like, no, we just have to let my mom, you see. That's when it became evident. My mom is going to be taking care of these things with us. You don't need me. I was like, no, I did not have this baby with your mother. I had a baby with you. You and I are Anne's parent. Your mom has nothing to do with it, And even before I gave birth, he came to me laughing. He would crack up based on my reaction. He was like, my mom wanted to throw you a baby shower, and I told her that you don't want a baby shower. And she could not believe it. She really wanted to do it. And I told her, no, Mom, Jen doesn't like these things. He was like, she could not understand. I kept trying to explain it to her, and she really wanted to do it. And I told her, no, and he would tell me these things laughing. And then his mom started coming after the birth. She was like, yeah, I want to throw a huge party for Anne. I want to introduce her to my friends. And, before that, we went to these birth classes where they taught us about, babies dying out of nowhere for no reason, and especially during the cold season. And Anne was born during the fall. She's like, they told us that how parents will expose their kids unnecessarily to diseases, and for the sake of of getting out there with the family, and the kids will catch a cold or something, because they don't have any immunity before 6 months. They could just die, and that was just triggering me. And I was like, oh my god. So I was like, I told everybody, I sent an email to the whole family. I'm like, you have to come. If you want to visit us, you come with your immunity card. You get your vaccinations, okay? And nobody's exposing Anne to anything. I don't want anybody, okay? Only the family is allowed to visit her. So when my mother-in-law would come in and was like, I'm going to throw a party, I'm going to do this. I'm like, no, you're not. She was like, yeah, but all my friends are doing it. That's what they did for their grandchildren, and I want to do it too. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you can take a picture with your granddaughter and share it with your friend, but there will be no such party. It's not necessary. She's like, oh, but my friends want to give you gifts, and they want. I'm like, they have a mailing address. They can send a gift. They don't have to come. But you have to have a gift register, because they will send you several the same gifts. They don't. I'm like, that's none of your business. No, shut the fuck up. It's only now that I'm seeing these things, and she kept coming. So I told her, I drafted a nice email, and I told her, if I hear one more whisper about putting my daughter, exposing her into danger or whatever, you will never have access to her. You as well will be witnessing and seeing your daughter through pictures with your son. Yeah, I sent that email. I did it. Yeah. And John was present when I did it, because he saw the panic attacks I was having. He witnessed it. He knows where it's coming from. I share all. He knows who I am. He knows his wife. So when I sent this email, she came back and she was like crying. Women, it's like so beautiful. Yeah, it really forged me to discover my feminine aspect. Yeah, I had to slap her with my golden dick. Yeah, she came back and she was like, oh, victimizing herself. You made me cry. You are so mean. Your email was so horrible. I'm like, yeah, whatever you felt reading that email is what I am feeling when you keep coming with saying you're going to throw a party. You can conceive of the type of traumas I've been through. You do not know. This was the only way to show it to you. Now you're going to shut the fuck up about throwing parties, and you're going to enjoy your granddaughter just for you, not for other people. Okay? No need for party. You want to value your granddaughter? You're going to learn to just spend time with her. These are the things I say to her. Yeah. And throughout my marriage, right, at the beginning, John, so beautiful. Yeah. He will buy me present for my birthday. He bought presents for my birthday, and I used to tell him, do not ever buy me jewelry. I don't do jewelry. There's no need for jewelry, And even before we go, this was another test of mine. I said to him, if we get married, I decide to marry a man, I'll keep my own name. He was like, yeah, sure. My mom kept her own name. Yeah, okay, sure, there's no problem. And I was like, well, my kids would carry both my name and my husband's name. It's gonna be an equal partnership. There's no the dominant man has to be. No, it's equal. my daughter will carry the name of both her father and her mother. And he was like, yeah, I carry the name of my father and my mother, because her grandpa was, his mom, dad was super controlling and he was wealthy, right? So, there was no other way. The grandchildren were gonna carry his last name, so his dad has no say, right? Yeah, so he understood all of this, and I was like, no matter what, if I decide to marry, the man I decide to marry will never ask my hand to my father in marriage to my father, because my father does not own me. These are the cycle, the patterns. It's embedded from generation to generation, no matter which place you are from. Any man asking your dad for your hand in marriage is imprisoning you. Okay? Nobody has any authority over your being. Your decision to get married is your own, and nobody has anything to say on it. This is what I'm saying, because this is how men start owning, thinking that the woman is their property and ownership. I'm like, no, nobody will ever ask my dad for my hand in marriage. That is that response only comes from me. He was like, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. No matter what I said, this guy just kept, he checked all the boxes superficially. This is what I was saying. I approached, I was very controlling and superficial, because what I grew up with is the most frightening thing ever. So I was like, fine, okay. So if we do get married, okay, I will not wear a wedding ring, because that's like a leash. This is also a way of owning somebody. I do not wear wedding rings. He was like, fine. And then when we got married, he started wearing his wedding ring. I threw my wedding ring, right after the ceremony, I threw my wedding ring in the garbage. I was like, yeah, it's not necessary. We already understood each other. He started wearing his, and he refused to throw it out. He was like, no, I like the way it feels on my finger. I like everybody knowing that I am married. I'm like, no, you are not holding your word, right? That's when it started coming up. You are not holding your promise. I do not own you. I don't want to own you. I don't want anything to do with you wearing a wedding ring, because that means that you are on a leash and that I am controlling you. You're going to throw that fucking shit in the garbage now. And he threw it out. Yeah, because we had an understanding before getting married. So going into that marriage, that was part of it. I said, I don't want anybody to buy me jewelry. If I like something, I buy it for myself. I buy jewelry for myself, There's no, I don't like this bullshit where it's like, you have to buy me this. No, I want it. So on my birthday, he bought me jewelry. He bought me earrings.